The Final Furlong Podcast is proudly brought to you by Geoff Banks Bet. Join the excitement and sign up to Geoff Banks Online now to get 10% off any net losses returned as cash after your first month of betting up to £500 at geoffbanks.bet. Champions Full Gallop is the documentary that we've been hearing so much about. Kicked off on ITV on Friday night. We did a poll on the tweet machine.
Okay.
There was 1,041 votes on this. I said, just watched the new ITV horse racing documentary, Champions Full Gallop. What did you think?
Okay.
The options were absolutely loved it, pretty good, it was okay, underwhelming. For the record, I voted pretty good. 11% said absolutely loved it of the 1,041 votes. By the way, according to the algorithm, 39.4% of the voters were female, 59.3% were male, 1.3% were other or not specified. 18.4% under 20. 20 to 29 was 37.6%. So the most people who voted were that age. Above 50 was 29.4%. Between 40 and 49, 7.8%. 30 and 39, 6.9%. So we're hitting a good demographic here. 0 new followers. You bastards! Impressions 9,953. And we promoted it for a tenner. So it got 29% extra impressions from the promotion. 11% said they absolutely loved it. 29% said pretty good. 25% said it was okay. 35% said underwhelming.
What was the female-male breakdown, Em?
Doesn't say that, just says that of the votes, it's 39.4% were female, 59.3% were male.
Well, first of all, with your newly installed John Rom beard, I would have thought there'd be more females on that.
Oh,
but in all seriousness, here is a series that's been granted a prime slot on national TV. I mean, you can't ask for any better than 9 p.m. on a Friday. It's a wonderful opportunity for the sport to engage with people who haven't been racing. And I thought it was very slick, beautifully produced. I thought the direction was fantastic. So it was a very slick production. But that's as far as my praise goes. Because, you know what, and I could be wrong, this is obviously just a personal view, this seems to have appealed, and I've looked at the reviews online, to people who know about racing already, you know, and knew how to fill in the gaps in between the facts and the interviews that were given. And I'm really surprised. Let's start off with the title of it. What kind of a title is that?
Oh, thank you.
When we're trying to bring people into the sport in the first place.
I was talking to a friend of mine from Racing TV over the weekend, and he went in with real high hopes, was very disappointed. Very disappointed, very annoyed. I said to him, what the hell is this name, by the way? It's like two marketing executives were rowing. And one said, I think we should call it Champions. And the other said, I think we should call it Full Gallop. And somebody just got, well, we'll just combine the names. Drive to Survive. Horsepower. Welcome to Wrexham.
What does it mean?
These are names
what does it mean?
Yeah. I don't get it.
But I thought, you know, when I first saw it in the listings, right? And I hadn't read about it anywhere because, for me, it hadn't been exposed to the general public. Forget about the horse racing public. Everybody in horse racing fraternity, we knew about it, you dickheads. What about the general public? That's who we're focusing on to get more people into racing, to come racing, right? It wasn't for you and me. It wasn't for the guy who goes and has his £1 lucky 15 every other day down the bookmakers. We're trying to bring in... We're trying to magnetize people into the sport. And to go in straight away, first of all, the title like that. When I saw that title, I thought it was something about Bob Champion in the Champions film. I mean, that's what automatically came into my head, Champions. I mean, what the hell, you divvies? And I thought to myself, you've got to think right of center here. You've got to think a little bit differently, you know? Don't do what's easy. Yeah. Do what's right. Don't do what's easy, do what's right. That's a quote from Harry Potter, by the way. And you need to do something a little bit... the opening episode, I mean, I actually loved it for the pure content. I thought the content was great. I love the way they build up the story with Shark as well. fabulous. But if you knew zero about racing and you were a maiden viewer to horse racing, I'm sure through the whole program from 0 to 100, you'd have been going, what the fuck's going on here? I don't really know. And I think it would have been better to have a first show, the opening episode, explain the basics of racing and not to presume that the viewer knows everything and can fill in the gaps. And that was my overriding feeling after I'd finished watching that first episode.
I agree with most of what you've just said. It's obviously made by talented people.
Yes.
There's beautiful cinematography. I think the editing is terrible. It's edited like a 20-year-old YouTuber who's had one too many Red Bulls. It's just this constant chopping for the TikTok generation. I don't get that. It doesn't appeal to me, actually, that thing.
Yeah.
Really
each
don't.
Their own.
Each to their own. I don't understand how you don't have any focus on betting whatsoever. Why are there so many talking heads and none of them are really giving you a proper breakdown of the form? Here's Allaho. He's the highest rated horse in the race. If he comes back to the form he showed 2 years ago, he'll win. But is he as good as he once was? We don't know. We didn't learn a whole lot about him, and he's come back in Clonmel. Brave Man's Game really should take all the beating, but he's been underwhelming on his first 2 starts this season. Can he bounce back? The only thing you're getting is Ed Chamberlain saying, well, it's Paul Nicholls and the King George. I could be wrong about this. I would imagine that the Talking Heads clips were all filmed after the fact, which kind of just means this isn't really genuine then. You're not actually setting the scene. You're just setting the scene after the fact, which is okay. But you knew these people were going to be involved in it. Why didn't you shoot with them on the day? Why isn't there a shot with Ed or Rishi or Matt Chapman where they're setting the scene? There's no explanation for why Shishkin refused to race. There's just
Allaho wasn't even mentioned.
Allaho's not mentioned. Willie's not mentioned. Paul Townend's not mentioned. Nicky Henderson is not mentioned. Are you not mentioning Nicky Henderson because he's Unibet and this is a Flutter production? And if that is the case, why is Nico de Boinville featuring so heavily in it when he's a Unibet brand ambassador? And is there a brand ambassador thing that's halting it in some way? I don't understand that fully. It could have done with the context of betting. Imagine a camera in the betting ring. Like, you're showing the frustration of Paul Nicholls, which I really liked. But imagine a camera in the betting ring where the bookies are getting the sweep because the outsider of the field comes along and wins. Like, it's a fairy tale story for Shark Hanlon, and that's great. And it is terrific that David can slay Goliath. Most people didn't back Hewick. Like, show the reaction of the punters. Show the reaction of the bookmakers rubbing their hands with glee because they're after getting one up. You're showcasing Nico de Boinville falling, but we all knew that was going to happen. We didn't learn anything else about it. Show us the experience of what a jockey who's just had a brutal fall, where a horse is Allaho's nearly gone through his head. Show us him being checked out by the medical staff and having to be cleared to continue riding. You have potentially got concussion. Show us the gritty reality of what it is to be a national hunt jockey. Show us the gritty reality of what it is to be a trainer. Don't show me Paul Nicholls looking at the list of his horses and trying to plan out where they're going to go for 10 seconds. Oh, we might run this horse in a couple of weeks' time. He was good at the weekend. That's it. No context to who that horse is. No. Show me the reality of what it is to be a trainer. How difficult is it to make money in this sport? Because I interviewed a trainer a couple of weeks ago who openly told me how tough it is. He said there's a small landscaping job they have to get done in their yard. It's going to cost 550 quid for a fella and a digger to come along and level out a piece of ground. And his racing secretary told him, we don't have 550 quid. That's how tough it is to be a trainer in the United Kingdom right now. And every trainer you speak to is not giving it large or putting on a brave face and pretending that everything's okay. They're telling you it's dire straits in British racing. This is the opportunity to showcase that. When you look at Welcome to Wrexham, the draw to that show is the Hollywood superstar Ryan Reynolds and a famous TV actor in Rob McElhenney. They're the draws. They're not what keeps you there because they're barely in it. They make cameo appearances. What keeps you there is the heart and the grit and the reality of lower league football. It's tough. Yes. And it's the personalities of the pub landlord and the fans and how the fans sometimes behave pretty reprehensibly, how other Rip fans behave pretty reprehensibly, how the players are going through real emotions. You're showing the actual lives of these people, how they're impacted, what it is to be a footballer, how difficult it is to be a footballer.
Correct.
Balancing being an athlete with your lives. You don't know anything about these people. You get to see Harry Cobden, who's very aware that he's in a documentary. And I'm a huge fan of Harry Cobden's. He's a brilliant jockey. He's taken full advantage of this, but he knows the camera's on him. And good luck to him. Well done to him. I have huge admiration for Harry Cobden. I think he is a gift to this sport. But Paul Nichols,
staged.
Shark Hanlon always comes across well. He's a great character. But Paul Nichols and Nico de Boinville understood the assignment. We are on a fly-on-the-wall documentary, behave normally, and they do, and I love them for it. They are unapologetically themselves. You either like them or you don't, and they don't care whether you like them or not. I love that.
Yes.
But the real star of this show for me is Bryony Frost. And how right was David Walsh? British racing had a diamond in Bryony Frost, and it threw her away. Anybody who watched that show and went, my goodness, she's really likable, she's enthusiastic, she's natural, everything comes so easy to her, she's effortless. Where is she riding? Oh, in France. The only mention you get of the diet of a jockey is a throwaway line from Bryony saying, oh, I could have had more turkey when she's weighing out. That's it. Show us what it is to be a jockey. Show the travel schedule that they have. Show the risk they get at injuries. Show how difficult it is to keep your weight down, particularly with no saunas available. What they have to do to be able to maintain their weight. Tony McCoy has that story in his autobiography about how he would lick a tato and put it back in the bag because he can't eat it. He just wanted the taste of it. The amount of jockeys I've spoken to who can only have a cup of tea in the morning and then they don't have anything at all until after they've raced it. This is a documentary that had the opportunity to really showcase the sport, and it chose to actively not do that. And so what you end up with, you end up with is a documentary that's not hardcore enough for us fans, which I think would then bring in casual fans because they'd go, oh my God, that's an incredible sport. Really show it to you, and not engaging enough for newbies.
That's why it was the wrong first episode. So we go back to the top of this conversation, yeah? You have to set the ground for a series like this. You've just said there, what a great opportunity for the sport. Prime time, 9 o'clock, big channel, Friday night. Oh my God, a window into the world of our incredible sport, which you and I both love, yeah?
Oh, yeah.
And which you've given us a living for. And, when I go out with people for a lunch or they come to ours and we have dinner and they have no interest in racing and they ask me about, well, you're in racing, Paul. We've decided we want to go to a horse race meeting this Sunday, Monday or Tuesday for the summer holidays. Where should we go? And I would love to have said to them, you know what? There's this new documentary series taking place at prime time at 9 o'clock on a Friday. The first episode will tell you so much about what happens on the ground. You'll see a small trainer and a small freelance jockey and how they struggle to make a living. And we're also going to show you the top end of the scale as well and a little bit in between. We're going to set the ground for you so you can understand the basics about the industry and how tough it can be, but how wonderfully rewarding on lots of different levels it can be as well. But instead, we go straight into the King George, this glamour, this diamond. And as I say, I'm going to balance here because I thought you're right, cinematography, it was produced and directed really nicely in most of the facets of it. But if you are trying to pull in, magnetize these newcomers into racing, and this was a golden opportunity to do so. Let them know about the basics in the first series. Go back to the letter A before you get to Z, yeah? And tell them as much as you can do, as succinctly as you can do in 45 minutes, and then move on to the glamour of later on in the season. But yeah, you're right, Em. We want the rawness. And the other thing you're spot on about, and I don't always agree with you, don't always agree with me, because you know what? That's the way we see the world and we see racing. But we give a view. Bryony was a massive miss. I mean, it was a huge miss. And you know what? Generally, the sport and the rulers of sport in this country have absolutely mucked up with her. Oh. She should be at the forefront of so many campaigns, so many marketing and PR campaigns. She's genuine. I mean, you know what? She's been brought up in a horsey family, but you know what? She bloody loves it. You know, that wonderful relationship with Frodon. I mean, it's fabulous. You know, when she comes in from winning the Ryanair, when she comes in from winning the King George, and she's like, she's gobsmacked at what her and that horse have achieved. But I'd love to have followed her from a basic first episode, what she does in the yard, but that's gone because she's now in France, because we've jettisoned this jewel in the crown. And once again, in the aftermath of what happened with her a couple of years ago, racing has shot itself in the foot. And it's going to happen time and time again, because those in charge, like they wear at the same time, those in charge of the BHP, they wear blinkers, they wear a visor, they wear cheek pieces. It's a bloody shame they don't wear a tongue strap most of the time as well, because it might well help them out. But they buggered this sport up in the last 10, 15 years, because it's all about short-termism. It's all about licking your buddy's arse, because you know what? We don't want to say anything too bad about the person next door who wields the power. And dare we try and compromise our own positions in sport because we can see what's coming down the line with our own careers. Do what's needed for the bigger picture in our sport, for the betterment of the sport all round. And it seems that people are blinkered and remain blinkered at the top and do not learn the lessons about short-termism and are scared to do so. Almost like they're scared to open it out to the greater public in a way would do the sport so much good. So the episode I enjoyed watching because I had the knowledge of knowing what was going on and what was going to happen, and I could fill in the gaps. But going back to that top of the conversation we had about this spot in the podcast, you've got to start off with an episode which fills in all the gaps, so the non-racing goer or the sports lover who's never been racing can fully understand before we move up through the gears to the higher echelons of horse racing through the calendar year, and then maybe the third or fourth episode, then we get to the King George.
Well, it's almost like it's a documentary that's made out of fear, and I'm starting to think that that's what ITV Racing is as well, that it's a production made out of fear. And this is just my interpretation of what's going on. I don't know. Right? I'm a dum-dum talking into a microphone. What the hell do I know? Betting is fundamental to horse racing. Right? They're intrinsically linked. You can delude yourself into thinking that the fans are coming into this sport to find out what's City of Troy going to do next, or is Constitution Hill going to be as good as he was next season. Yeah, people are really interested in those horses, and those horses you can use to market the sport and bring in new people, but it's all about betting. That's what keeps people engaged in this sport. That's what we all fell in love with. Our memories of great horses like Yates are linked to bets placed on those horses. Memories of us thinking this horse is going to win. So not focusing on betting is a shocking mistake, an unforgivable mistake. And Matt Chapman was brought in to be the betting reporter. That's what his whole role was. That's what his role was. ITV won't do that anymore. I don't understand the reasons for it. NBC, for the Triple Crown races, for the Breeders' Cup coverage, they do extensive betting coverage of every single race. If the Americans can do that, why can't ITV? It's unforgivable that they're not doing that. And it's damaging.
Okay,
it's damaging overall. And if the main people at ITV are all brand ambassadors for bookmakers, a lot of them for Flutter. Yes. The show itself is sponsored by a bookmaker. The advertising is all predominantly bookmaker-funded advertising or casino ads. How can you possibly do all of that and then not focus on the betting ring? You can do your stride analysis. It's an interesting side note. I'm fascinated by that stuff. But I also want to know, why is this horse the price he is? Should he be this price? Is he too short? Why is the market reacting in the way it is? You need that Tanya Stevenson level of insight. You need a Dave Nevison telling you what's going on with the market. You need the Dixon brothers to give you context of form and betting. And when you don't have that, you are damaging the sport overall, because you're taking away the most fundamental part, that's the interest for the fan. You could have Johnny Deneen there talking about how I'm up to the eyeballs in Allaho, he can't get beaten. You can have that in this documentary, but you're not doing it there. You're not doing it on ITV Racing. It's a nice documentary, and if it's made by Flutter to be uploaded to the Betfair or Paddy Power YouTube channels, we'd all say great. I wonder, was Simon Clare looking at this going, I made a better documentary with Joe Tizard, and no one talked about it. Not really. That didn't get the traction it should have at all. It's a beautifully made documentary. It's well done. Nathan Horrocks' Horsepower, which we talked about a couple of weeks ago. It's now available on iPlayer. That is gritty. It's taking you behind the scenes. The real conversation about what to do with Oisin Murphy. What do we do? He's banned. How do we fix this? How do we challenge it? What are we going to... If we don't... They even talk about, well, we're not going to challenge it then. Let's just give up. Basically, is a conversation you are seeing between these people. It's a proper HBO Hard Knocks behind the scenes. We are going to show you what's actually going on. This is a fly in the wall documentary. We're gonna bring you inside the Andrew Balding stable. You'll meet stable staff. You'll see how this is done. There's none of that. There's no stable staff person to link to. You don't really see how the horses are trained. You don't really see the reality of it being a jockey. It's just a very carefully cultivated promo for what they want you to see, which just isn't interesting. And this isn't going to get a second season. And it's not going to fail to get us. If you liked it, by the way, great. I'd love to hear from you in the comments below. Please let me know if you like this show. And if you strongly disagree with us, that's great. Entertainment is subjective. If you like this, that's fantastic. I'm really pleased that you did. But this is not going to get a second season. And the reason it's not going to get a second season is because of the ratings. 1.4 million is the peak. The average is 875,000. Now, I can't tell you what the viewing figures were for all of last week, but I can tell you what they have been for the last few weeks. And in the top 50 shows, the 50th, on the week of April 8th to April 14th, I'm going there specifically because it was Grand National Week, but also I'm going there because we're not in Euros territory, so it's not being affected by the European football matches. On barb.co.uk, which is the ratings, the 50th most watched show in the United Kingdom was The Chase on ITV1, 5 o'clock Monday, 2.5 million. ITV Evening News was the 49th, 2.5 million. You see what I mean? 2.5 million.
Yeah.
That's not what you're getting here. And if we go to the most recent figures, this is the week of the 1st to the 7th of July. The most watched show was the Euros final. 11.2 million people tuned in to watch that. BBC One. 50th most watched television show was Channel 5's The Night Caller. Sunday, 9 p.m., 2.1 million. 875,000 is not getting this show a second season. Love Island got...
That puts it into perspective.
Friday, 5th of July, Love Island, which is a massive brand, but it's on ITV2, 2.4 million. Coronation Street, that same night at 9:02 p.m., because of the Euros, pulled in 3.8 million viewers on Friday, the 5th of July. On the 28th of June on Channel 4, Celebrity Gogglebox got 2.5 million viewers. Love Island at the same time on ITV2 pulled in 2.3 million. That's what you're up against. That is the standard you have to achieve. That is the ratings you need to pull in. It did not get that. And Google Champions Full Gallop. Set yourself a little task. Google it and see what comes up. What comes up is Flutter, Flutter Entertainment, Sporting Life, which is owned by Flutter, and then Richard Armitage writes about it for... Was it Marcus Armitage or Richard Armitage? I keep getting that wrong. Richard Armitage. Marcus is the writer. Richard is the actor. Apologies, Marcus Armitage. Yes. He writes a fairly critical review of it in The Telegraph. Greg Wood writes about it for The Guardian. Piece in The Sun. I don't know if it was Sam Morgan who wrote it, our good friend, but somebody in The Sun goes, Bryony Frost owns the red carpet. One of those tabloid things. But that's effectively it. There's a piece about Vernon Kay being at the premiere for the Daily Mail. There are no television critics. No, Marina Hyde, nobody is saying, oh my God, there's an amazing documentary called Champions Full Gallop. It's all about racing. I didn't know anything about it, but I'm so captivated by this sport. It's stunning. Yeah. Nobody, no television critic is writing about this show. That's an ITV problem. You should have got that out to all of these critics. You should have got them on board. And those same critics are the ones who are writing, don't care about football, but my God, Welcome to Wrexham is amazing. Don't care about Formula One, but my goodness, Drive to Survive is incredible. That's the standard you have to achieve. You have not achieved that.
Why wasn't there someone from either the production company or one of the players in the show itself on the one show the previous week on BBC? Would have been perfect. It's about the PR and exposing the brand to people outside of racing. All we've done is expose the brand to people already inside racing. You know, yeah, nice show, nice slick show, but that's not the aim. That's not the target audience. And coming back to your rant in the middle there, you've hit the nail on the head. You've hit that nail, and it's gone deep inside the body of wood, which we're trying to get into here. Without betting, there is no horse racing industry. Who's gonna understand and believe that? You go to the preview show on ITV Racing, no specialist tipster. Yeah, nobody showing the betting moves intricately that John used to give on Channel 4 Racing, or Tanya used to do thereafter. Racing is about money. No betting, no money. We have no racing in this country because of the way it is set out, by the way prize money is funded. You and me and the other idiots, all of us that go into the betting shop or bet online, you know, and most 99% of us are losers every year. Yeah. And even me as a tipster, I tip more losers than winners. Yeah. If we didn't have a bet and that income didn't go into the industry, the sport, there is no sport. The number one thing that we have in this sport is the adrenaline rush of a bet. Yeah, the majority of people control that adrenaline rush. There are a very, very small percentage that don't. But it is all about the rush of blood during a race, during that 1 minute, 1.5 minutes on the flat, that 4, 5, 6 minutes over the jumps, the 9 minutes of the Grand National, the 6.5 minutes of the Gold Cup. That's what it's based upon, that most other sports don't have. Yes, you can have a bet on golf. You can have a bet on the Euros. That's if you haven't fallen asleep after 25 minutes this year, which was bloody awful performance.
It was boring.
A bunch of overpaid actors rolling around like a bunch of dickheads. But this sport is all about betting. It's all about money. You know, if there was no money going in, you and I wouldn't have a job in this industry because we'd have nothing to comment about. And people will be listening to this and going, all you do, you two idiots, you just criticize all the time, don't you? But you know what? We have praised in equal measure when I've done this podcast with you about different facets of the sport because we love it. You and I love it so much. That's why we have made a decision to make our careers out of this industry. We genuinely love the horse. We love the athlete. But you know what? You and I both love a little punt. And when it comes off every now and again, it gives you such joy. And if you control the amount of money you're putting into the sport, having a bet, and the large majority do, there isn't a problem for me. The large majority do. It's like the PR going into about all these checks online and everything. We've been awful on that. We haven't represented our sport. We haven't defended our sport. We haven't defended the people in it, putting their money in, having a bet. Well, this is on the same level again. Betting is the heartbeat, is the blood rush of this sport. And without it, the heart stops and the industry dies.
All right. Thank you so much, Paul, for joining us. Really enjoyed your insight. Really enjoyed your company on the show again. Let us know what you think in the comments below. We'd love to hear from you. Likes and shares are much appreciated as well. From Paul Jacobs, 6-time champion tipster. Please God, we'll have him back on the show again very, very soon. We're previewing Glorious Goodwood this week. Some great insight coming your way. And recording a special show talking about the experiences of going to the race courses in Britain and Ireland with the man who has visited more than any other person of all of the British and Irish courses in the last couple of years. Looking forward to that conversation. That's coming your way this week on the Final Furlong Podcast. From all of us, look after yourself and each other. God bless. The Final Furlong Podcast is proudly brought to you by Geoff Banks Bet. Join the excitement and sign up to Geoff Banks Online now to get 10% off any net losses returned as cash after your first month of betting up to £500 at geoffbanks.bet.